What was that? Hello and welcome to Love is a Battlefield, the podcast, episode 13, Smear Campaign. I'm Tilly Moore and welcome. What was that piece of music? It was from one of Australia's best bands ever, a band that I'm a huge fan of before they were that band. So that little snippet is from the Innocent Criminals when they were 13 years old and they eventually became our much loved Silverchair. Thought I'd just put that in there today. Obviously not going to keep using it. It's not mine to use, but shout out to them. Love them. Now let's get into it. Now, smear campaign. It's yet another one of the abusive behaviours that narcissists or abusers or psychopaths or very, very unwell abusers use to keep control of their victim and keep their victim stuck in the situation with them. Now, we've gone back and we've looked at circle talk, flying monkeys, trauma bond, reactive abuse, and yes, here we are at smear campaign, yet another little slimy tactic that these creepy creepers use against their victims. And it is weird, isn't it, that there's all these literal definitions, these literal terms of things that they do to their victims that are so common with abusers that they're actually documented and have names. It's sick. It's just sick. So, smear campaign. Now, we're talking about narcissists. So, if you need to know what is a narcissist, that's episode 4. And if you want to know about what is narcissistic abuse, that's episode 5. So, pop back there. But today, it's the smear campaign. And the smear campaign, in short, my definition would be if you leave them, they see that as a personal attack. They see that you are attacking them and they need to revenge that. So, because if you're leaving them, they lose the power and control over you. And they have worked hard to manipulate to get that power and control. So if you take you away, you're taking their power and control away, and so they feel that you're attacking them by leaving the relationship. They can't see the logic in, hey, this is an abusive relationship. I don't want to be in an abusive relationship, and it's kind of illegal. I'm going to leave it. I've actually said stuff like that in my own situation. They can't see that logic. They do not believe you have a right to leave them. You are theirs. They have worked hard to manipulate you, manipulate everyone around you. They have worked their butts off, doing all their little games, doing all those other things we've talked about in other episodes. So if you leave, you're attacking them. You are literally, they see it like you are performing an act of violence toward them, and they get very, very upset, and they want to revenge that. And so the smear campaign is one of the things they do when you leave or try and leave. Obviously, disclaimer, not every situation this happens in, but it is common in these kind of abusive relationships, particularly when the word narcissist comes into it. Now, traditionally, the term smear campaign is more about politicians and politics and government figures and if two political parties were vying to be the president of America, one will try and do a smear campaign on the other to release stories that aren't true, and some are, but they're twisted and everything to try and get people to not vote for them, to ruin their reputation. Basically, the aim of the game is to ruin your reputation, to make you pay, to make no one else want you because they can't have you. But in politics, it's just to sort of destroy your competition. So this abuser wants to destroy you because it's that final act that, wait, you are leaving me? I will now destroy you. I will destroy everything you have, everything you've worked hard for. And that is, as we've said before, the riskiest time in the relationship. And that's the most fatal period of time in an abusive relationship because they want to destroy you and they go about it in extreme ways. Or a smear campaign, or both. Or both. When I said or both, you're probably like, what? If they kill you, why would they still do the smear campaign? Anyone heard of Chris Watts? Is that his name? The guy in America who killed his wife and kids and put his kids in the oil tank things. So when that was all happening, he tried to say, oh no, she's a murderer, she's suicidal, she's this, and she was threatening this, and she was that, and try, as part of his defense, run a smear campaign on her character, which is very, very common in the court system against abusive people. Unfortunately, they have a right to make up whatever they want and say whatever. It's ugh. In my case, if they hadn't have pled guilty, they would have gone to a trial and they would have used a legal smear campaign. The lawyer would have got them to give them as much dirt as possible, and they would have also made up other things because they would lie to their lawyer, of course, and they would have tried to destroy my reputation in a legal setting. And it's actually legal to do that in a court of law. So let's look at a definition, an actual sort of a proper thing, not just me rambling on, a proper thing. So on choosingtherapy.com, they have an article, The Narcissistic Smear Campaign, What is it, Tactics and How to Deal with It. So they have written, a narcissistic smear campaign is used to discredit another person by hijacking the narrative of a relationship after it has ended. A narcissist will spread lies or create embellishments about their victim in order to destroy the individual's reputation. This is common behaviour for those with narcissistic personality disorder when they realise they have lost control over this other person. What is a narcissistic smear campaign? A narcissistic smear campaign is a narcissistic manipulation tactic used to harm a person's reputation and isolate them from their support network. While this method is most commonly used by those with narcissistic personality disorder, smear campaigns are not that different from the typical efforts to slander an individual, such as that between politicians in an election. It's literally saying everything I've already said. Like, it's just confirming, hey, Tilly, you know your shit. It says, however, one conducted by a narcissist will be vindictive and persistent. Ugh. Often this is exactly what a narcissist does at the end of the relationship. Can confirm. And yes. So one of the reasons they do it isn't just like revenge, like, oh, you've left me, I've lost control and power over you. It's also because they want to isolate you. They want to convince everyone around you to hate you, and they're really good at it, so that you have no one but them. And what do you do when you are grieving for the relationship, which is normal, even though you've been with an abuser, as we know with trauma bond, it's normal to still grieve it. And you're trying to get your life back into order. You might be like moving many things and trying to like pick up the pieces, dust yourself off. And if they've convinced everyone, and I'm talking they try it on everyone, they try your parents, your siblings, your friends, anyone, your colleagues, anyone around you they can. They will make up lies and say what they have to say to get people to detach from you, to isolate you so you are alone. So the only person standing there with a bunch of flowers telling you they love you, that they're the person for you, that they've always got your back, that they will care for you and look after you, is them. And I'm telling you, this works, this tactic, because if they're really good at isolating you and you're in pain and you're alone and everyone hates you, and you're in that headspace where you've been abused for ages, you start thinking how you've thought in the relationship, which is, oh, well, if they're all hating me and he's saying I'm bad, maybe he's right. Maybe I should go back to him because he's the one that loves me. Everyone else has turned away from me, so maybe he's right. You know, they've really literally got your brain in their hands and they're just like, manipulation. Okay, slight exaggeration, touch on the dramatic. We go there sometimes, but that's what it's like. Now, how do they do it? What's the elements of a smear campaign? Now, if we go back to choosingtherapy.com, they've said it's vengeful. There is almost always a perceived injury, such as a threat to their pride, that causes a narcissist to engage in it. 2, it's done overtly. Their behaviour is often excessive. Smear campaigns are much more than the occasional talking behind someone's back. These are persistent and consistent acts to harm another person's reputation. It is done purposefully. A narcissist knows what they are doing. Their actions are not done by mistake, despite what they may say to others about, I'm just being concerned. This is literal. Oh my goodness. This is literally written here at choosingtherapy.com. And that is a quote from my abuser. Not my. No, we don't use ownership words. Yeah, I read that somewhere. You don't use ownership words when you're talking about them. You don't say my ex, my abuser, because it still connects you to them. That's what, I don't know, I read that somewhere. So I try and say an abuser, but it sounds kind of weird. So I'm just explaining that. That quote, just being concerned. He literally went around lying that I had an addiction to a prescription medication, as I mentioned before. And he used that, and I've actually talked about this before, and that would have been one of his quotes. Oh, I'm just so concerned. I'm really just concerned about her. And it's not. Everything he did was thought out, calculated, planned. It was a planned attack. It is sick that people think like this. Who could be bothered? So let's go on. It is persistent, even when faced with backlash, such as someone not believing them. Their behaviour persists. Yes, I had one person go, okay. And he's like, no, but blah, 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 blah. And he kept pushing the narrative. Next, it contains narcissistic projection. It says many narcissists project their bad qualities onto others. If they lie and steal, they accuse the target of doing those things. Yes. Well, was he addicted to, I don't know. You don't know. You don't even know this person. You think you do and you don't. They have secret women. Probably some have secret families. They probably have substance issues. I never thought he did when I was in it, but I also didn't think he was sleeping with a whole bunch of other women, and he was. So you just don't know them. But he did that with the one before me. He said she was an alcoholic. Then he said that I was addicted to prescription drugs, and he was trying to paint this picture of aggression and anger and drug-induced psychosis so he could paint me as the villain and me as the abuser. And yuck. So next, it's calculated. I said that. Narcissists know who they can and can't. I'm like taking credit. Like when I'm like, I said that. Like I know things. Ignore me. Okay, narcissists know who they can and can't manipulate in their smear campaign. No person is off limits, but they usually have an idea of who will believe what lies. Yes, this takes us back to when he bragged about how which child was the easiest to gaslight. And I believe he targeted literally everyone around me, but he knew the ones to really work on. And he went for people who were closest to me, and he just information gathered and got to know about relationships I had with friends and family, and he just observed and then used it all against me. And that's a classic thing you always hear, that narcissists will project what they're actually doing onto you. So they're like, you're cheating, you're this, you're that. And they say that whatever they're accusing you of is what they actually are and what they're actually doing. And you actually find out over time that that's true. So whatever was said about me. So he said the one before me was an alcoholic, and then he gave a list of mental health diagnoses, but he kept forgetting the names of them. So he kept changing them when he was talking about the one before me. And then now he was saying, I was addicted to this weight loss drug, and I had drug-induced psychosis, and I was abusive. And he was just so genuinely concerned that I was changing. I laugh, but it still hurts because people believe it because they're really good manipulators. You can't blame people, but it does hurt when they do buy into some of it. So it goes on to say why they use the smear campaigns, and another little brag. Oh, I knew some stuff. Well, obviously I know. I already knew. This is why I started the podcast. I knew all this stuff, and I was like, some people don't. I need them to know what I know so they can not go through the crap I went through. So it says the reason they do it usually revolves around revenge, this need they have for revenge, a goal to discredit their victim, and the narcissist's own lack of compassion and empathy. It's just a perfect recipe. A smear campaign may be used to protect a narcissist's image. Sometimes this is due to low self-esteem and self-worth, or to avoid It says narcissistic injury. That means them being exposed as not a good person. But they haven't mentioned in here legal stuff. They often run a smear campaign at the end and make up lies about you because they know that you could go to the police and there could be situations where you find something out that they've been doing behind your back, or they could get into legal trouble. And so they also want to discredit you so that if anyone ever finds out something that they've been doing, they've got in first by letting everyone know lies about you, so that by the time you go, hey, I'm going to report this, or I'm going to tell people this other thing that happened, they're already like, yeah, we've heard about you. So there's other reasons. Now, many people with narcissistic traits believe they're doing what they need to do and aren't behaving inappropriately. Yeah, as I've said before, narcissists see all these behaviours, all these abusive behaviours and manipulative behaviours and these little tricks and traits and things that literally have names. It's like you're being textbook. You're a basic narcissist. You're literally studying the Narcissist 101, how to abuse, Bible or book or something, and you're following a step-by-step guide. Like literally, you're such a basic narcissist. That's how you feel, because you hear so many stories from survivors that are literally like before the quote, I'm just concerned. You hear so many similar stories and literally the same words they're saying to their victims and the same actions, and you're just like, you're all so alike. Yet in their head, they know what's right and wrong. They know what's legal and illegal, and they know what's good and bad. But there's a drive in them where they feel like, I need to do this. This is my right. Because of what I was saying before, they feel that you leaving them is a personal attack on them. And they think everyone thinks like them. So they think you've been calculated and planning, and they think you're doing what they're doing as well. They think you're out on the other side telling people lies about them. But victims don't. I didn't. When I was one-on-one with a close friend, I would disclose what happened to me, but I never went around ragging on them, if that's the right word, or spreading any misinformation or anything. You don't do that when you're a victim. When you're a victim, you're very quiet because you're worried about what they're going to do. If they find out you've said something that wasn't 100% facts, they threaten you with legal stuff that they could convince a court of, but you couldn't convince a court of the truth. Like, it's scary. You shut down. You don't say anything, but they think you think like them, and they think you're out there saying the exact same things to everyone that they're saying. They think you're doing what they're doing, and they think that you are attacking them by leaving them, and that is you that's doing it. So they feel like you're in control of this, and they're just responding to your attack by leaving them. They cannot understand that what they're doing is driven by themselves, and it is very wrong. Very, very wrong. Now, let's read some more and discuss. It says about the revenge, because it's a perceived offense from you, and that's why they need the revenge. And they said whether they do this by making a victim look bad to their boss, other family members, the court system, or their social circle, the narcissist creates a sense of doubt about the individual as part of their efforts for revenge. Not all smear campaigns happen at the end of a romantic relationship. Some occur in the workplace, especially if one has a boss or co-worker with narcissistic traits. For example, office smear campaigns achieve a goal of making the narcissist look good and their co-workers look bad. I'm sure we can probably think of situations like that. Yes, I want to read this to you. Now, it goes on to say, probably the most recognisable smear campaign is one that occurs against the narcissist's ex-partner. This often is done as an act of revenge, as the narcissist feels injured by this person ending the relationship. For example, a narcissist's ex-partner will smear a person in an attempt to discredit them as a parent, create lies in court, and try to turn others in the family and circle of friends against them. This part, ready? It is much more than breakup drama or high conflict divorce, as is often labelled and thus commonly excused. Yes, so many of you out there have gone through a divorce, a separation, or a breakup with a narcissist. People who have to go to court, family court, and divorce court, and have to fight these vile creatures. Everyone says, as if it's like your choice, they say, oh, that's a nasty divorce. It's a dramatic breakup. It's just breakup drama. No, it is a narcissist doing a planned, calculated smear campaign attack on their victim. They are continuing to abuse their victim after they've left them. And no one sees it like that. They see it as a two-way street. They see, oh, both of you can't get on in court to make decisions about the kids or the house or anything. They're intentionally deciding the opposite to what you decide. They could actually want what you propose with care arrangements for the kids or the house. They could deep down want that. They could want no custody. And as we've all heard, and I don't know if you have, but there's so many situations where a narcissist will fight for full custody of the children by running a smear campaign against his ex just to win. He does not desire to have his children full time. I am telling you, fact. F-A-C-T, capital letters, caps lock, shouting, put a colon in there. He does not want, and now I'm going back and thinking, was it a colon or a semicolon? No, it was a colon. He does not want the kids full time. He is lying. He is just doing it to punish her for leaving him. He is doing it for power and control. He will have the kids full time. He will neglect them and treat them crap, as I have seen with an abuser I knew who got the kids full time. He neglected them. He treated them like, I won't even get into it. It's very distressing what was witnessed. But they do not desire to have the kids. They don't have those parent instincts. They don't want to protect and love the kids. They don't want the kids near them. They just want to make you suffer. And a mother wants to protect their kids, a mother doesn't want the kids in an abusive environment, so they're forced to go to court against this person. So he runs a massive smear campaign privately with your family and friends to punish you on that side, and through the court system. And court systems are not cheap. So they're also financially abusing you. They are winning at their little revenge game. And if they do win full custody, they're like, oh, well, the kids will be here. They feed them when they have to keep them alive. They treat them like crap, but fill the kids' head, gaslight the kids constantly that the mother is bad and that they're king shit of the world. And it's really horrible. And there's nothing, my heart breaks for anyone out there going through this. And I'm telling you, if you are, you're not alone. This is so, literally every relationship with a narcissist where you have biological children together, if you've been in a narcissistic abuse relationship with that person, they will make your life hell. And we have to stay strong and ignore people who say it's a messy divorce, and stand up and say, no, I'm not making big disagreements. This person is doing this to continue the abuse and punish me for leaving because they are an abuser. People who don't get it won't get it. Now we're going to use that to segue into a very big popular case that I've been a bit nervous about talking about because a lot of people don't get it. But those who get it, get it. Domestic violence workers, domestic violence counsellors, survivors, they get it. But anyone who doesn't understand the mind of a narcissist, the mind of a narcissistic abuser who hasn't been there, doesn't know how they work, they don't know how calculated a smear campaign is. So what I'm going to bring up is, don't hate me. Don't hate me. Understand where this is coming from. And I'm not forcing these views, but I could see it, and I could see it so clearly, and it broke my heart. So what I'm talking about is Johnny Depp and Amber Heard. Don't hate me. So, Johnny Depp's a fucking narcissist. There, I said it. Right, okay, everyone out there's screaming right now, like, but I love him. But no, she's a psycho. She's like, I watched the court thingy. I didn't when it was live because triggering, and it really started to personally hurt me to see the things that were being said about a victim of DV around the world, and to see people buying into his smear campaign. But I knew what a smear campaign was. I had seen it for other people, lived it myself, seen so many examples of it, known the actual definition and all about it, and been educated on it. So I knew what a smear campaign is and how a narcissist acts. So what happened in that situation was she didn't mention names, but she mentioned that she had survived abuse. I think she might have referred to a time in her life, and that's why on this podcast I've been very, very safe in protecting myself and not mentioning times, not mentioning how old I was or where I was working and what I was doing in my life when I was with anyone, to give any hints to possibly ID them. However, she left out the name, but she didn't think to leave out, a time. I think she made reference to something that pointed out that she was talking about her relationship with Johnny Depp, and it was to the media. So she thought she was protected by not saying a name and just saying, I've been through DV. But she said abuse, but we abbreviate things here. And so she said that, and it was written in some article in some magazine or something. She had left him. He'd abused her. She'd left him. And his abuse, from what I've seen in all the evidence, is that very narcissistic, very reactive abuse. He is the king of reactive abuse. He would belittle her, intimidate her, mock her, threaten her, be violent with her, and then film her and sit there and film her and wait for her reaction. And there was a situation in the court where he obviously had done all that like creepy manipulation, horrible stuff, and she reacted and threw something. And everyone all over the world said, she's an abuser. She just admitted she threw something once. Yet I watched a movie. It was a movie, and part of it was based on a true story. And that person showed in that reenactment of what they'd been through in DV, they showed themselves throwing stuff at their abuser. Oh, I, Tonya. Now, I, Tonya, apparently after that came out, people had more empathy for her. I've seen in the comments on anything to do with I, Tonya, the movie on TikTok, all the comments are very supportive of Tonya, the ice figure skater, who was accused of injuring the leg of her opponent, and the guy was paid to do it. Apparently her abusive husband paid the guy to do it, so everyone thinks she was in on it. So in her movie, they showed the domestic violence, and people still have empathy for her. Like in the comments I've seen, no one's calling her a psycho. And in the DV, she threw something back, but this guy was clearly like manipulative, violent, horrible. So when you see the whole picture in front of you, like no one's calling her a psycho for lashing out and doing reactive abuse one time. Whereas when Amber said, and Amber was doing what I used to think you had to do. So Amber was being 1,000,000% honest. She probably put a hand on the Bible or whatever oath she chose to say, and she was like 110% the truth. She thought the court system could see through lies and she could trust them. She didn't know the court system was about the best case and not about the truth. So she answered things so naively and so open. Like she was just your typical domestic violence survivor, the person that a narcissist targets, someone with empathy, someone who's vulnerable, probably has a history of some trauma, a beautiful soul. And I'm sorry if I'm offending anyone who thinks she's a raging psychopath. At the end of the day, none of us were there, but I'm looking at the evidence that I saw in court. His evidence was just everything that could have happened. Like if I went to court against my abuser, he would have I call it pulling a Johnny Depp. That guy had tried to twist things, get people to lie. Oh my goodness. And the evidence, there was so much. So we've got the thing where she threw, there was a part in it where he actually hit her. And then she's talking about it on the stand. She starts crying. And everyone says, oh, what a psycho, look at her crying. Oh, she's faking it. And I'm just thinking, you're all just attacking her. Like, what? I could not understand, but I can. Like, I can see how I thought before I went through DV, before I was educated about DV, before I knew about smear campaign, reactive abuse, all these tricks, before I'd been through it and lived through it. I know what I used to think, and I can empathise with what people think and why they took Johnny's side. And that's the thing. Narcissists, people who don't understand narcissists and how they work are very vulnerable to being manipulated by them. The whole freaking world was manipulated by him. A very small percentage saw through it. The percentage was survivors and DV educators, DV counsellors, people in the DV space. No one else seemed to get it, and it hurt. And there were posts online at the time of people saying, hey guys, if you don't believe victims, how do you expect them to keep coming forward? I watched the documentary, the one on Netflix, that shows parts of the court where it shows the evidence and both sides in both cases and the way he snickered and the way he played games and the way he said, I'm not even going to look at you. It was all games. It was all tactics. And hello, this is why it's so frustrating. He got he got his lawyer to lodge it in a state that neither of them had ever been to for the sole purpose that it would be on television, because he wanted to destroy her and destroy her reputation. This is 100% a textbook narcissist smear campaign. This is a smear campaign when you got a lot of money and you're famous. Because I know the person that went to prison who tried to kill me would have loved to Johnny Depp me. He would have loved that, but you're not famous. No one's going to watch your televised little thing. No one's going to televise it. But he knew his power was in his fame, in his fandom, and he knew if he could get this on TV and twist and deflect everything and pull out every little narcissist manipulation tactic, he'd win. And she didn't have, and he could afford the best lawyer, the most cunning narcissistic lawyer, and she could not afford as good as him. I mean, she had been in some films, but she was nothing like the money he was earning. She wasn't earning anything like that. So she got a shitty lawyer and I believe the lawyer kind of let her down. The lawyer obviously didn't understand narcissists themselves, so they couldn't highlight, hey, this is a smear campaign, and educate the court about that. I mean, you saw someone from his team that had to psychoanalyze her and another person on her team. In her team, they said, this is PTSD. She's a survivor of domestic abuse. And then a psych that he employed on his side that interviewed her just said, oh, no, she's got borderline personality disorder. She's a problem. She's horrible. She's this. She's that. And it was just like, are you for real? Like, that is literally, it took me back. It was triggering. There was one clip where she was trying, this is toward the end, obviously. And because we aren't filming and recording and gathering information on them all through the relationship, because we don't know they're our enemy. We think they love us. So this is right towards the end. And she knew she was in an abusive relationship and she was trying to get evidence because she knew she needed it, because she knows what he was going to do, because she'd seen him doing that, deflecting and victim blaming all through the relationship. So she set up a camera and he was abusive. He was horrible, like verbally. You could hear it. And then you could see the struggle when he grabbed the camera. And so I'm like, okay, we have evidence. He literally just abused her. You couldn't see what he was doing because of the struggle with the phone. I've been in that exact situation. I attempted to film this person because they wouldn't leave my house. They wouldn't go. And they were being abusive, and I was scared. And I couldn't call the police because we've talked about that before, why I couldn't call the police, because his manipulation. He's such a good manipulator. And so I set up a camera. No, I didn't. I was holding it. Yeah, and I was trying to film because he just wouldn't leave. And I was begging him, please let me go to bed. Please leave. Please leave. So I started filming. And then you saw, like, you don't even see him grab, like, I'm standing there and he's talking just like Johnny Depp did in this really smart-arsey, but watching every word he says way. It's 100% the same way my abuser talked to me. And then he snatched the phone in my recording, and you see that, and that in the of the camera, I got freaking beaten. I was getting beaten, and I saw that in hers. Like, you can't see him beating her because of the phone struggle, but it could have been identical to my situation in the recording I had. So that recording I had was not evidence because you couldn't clearly see him hitting me, but it freaking looked and sounded the same. And I'm like, he just assaulted her. And then it flicked on that Netflix documentary about it to people saying, oh, she's a psycho. Why did she set up that camera? Look what she's doing. And everyone just hating her. And I'm like, that woman just got freaking hit. And then it showed her bruises and everything on her face. And they were like, it's fake. It's fake. I'm like, why are you saying that? That's freaking real. What the hell? And then there was so much evidence in it that was just pointing to the fact that this man uses manipulation and all the narcissistic tactics on his victim, and the whole world is glorifying him. No one is questioning why he wanted it broadcast on television. If he was a respectful man who was a victim of DV, he would want it just normal court. He wouldn't have to humiliate her, because I'm a victim of DV, victim/survivor, however you want to put it. And I do not want any legal proceedings televised. I am absolutely ashamed that I've gone through DV. And I want to tell you guys all about it, but I'm not wanting to put it on TV. I do not want to humiliate my perpetrator. And I can tell you that there is no part of any victim or survivor of domestic violence that wants to humiliate and put on a show. A cocky narcissist wants to put on a show. Smear campaign. That was 100% the smear campaign. And he won. He won. He destroyed her. She would have been dead set suicidal after that. Like, her career is gone. She had to move. She moved to another country and she has to lay low. And she got threats. People threatened to kill her. Like, hello. That's what we're talking about here. Don't abuse women. His fans threatened her. Threatened violence against her. And she has to be in, like, hiding essentially, like in another country. And her whole life is destroyed. And my heart just, like, I saw so much in that I had in mind. But the thing is, and everyone was saying, oh, she's an actress, she's acting. He's the actor. He's the A-list actor. She's the C-list, or I don't know what list she's on, but she's not Johnny Depp. So he's the better actor, and not one person questioned that. Not one person said, oh, he's acting. He's sitting there snickering, laughing, joking. I can tell you a victim/survivor is not doing that. We're not. Sometimes if we get justice, we have a moment after it to think, oh, that's good. I'm glad they're in prison and they are serving time for what they did. But you don't get cocky. You're not like that. He was sitting there 100%, hi, I'm a narcissist and this is my smear campaign. Welcome. The world didn't get it. And I think that's another driving force to do this podcast. And maybe people won't really listen to it or whatever, but hey, you're not alone. It's not your fault. And her statement after it all happened was, I'm so sorry to the victims out there. And that, like, I teared up because I was just like, that's why and you could see when she took the stand, she was doing that thing like as if your girlfriend said, just be confident, just sit there, you be confident, you tell the truth, you tell your story. And you could see her trying to be confident and everything. And then at moments when she had to talk about stuff, she'd break down. She talked about being sexually assaulted by him, and everyone mocked her and said she was a liar and a psychopath. I am so glad I didn't have to go to court against the man that was like that with me, because he is what I call a very, very good manipulator. And obviously Johnny Depp is too. And it breaks my heart to see the power and control that a narcissist has over the whole freaking world, because they are that good at manipulating. So many DV services had said that they sided with Amber and said that was just shocking and it was really hurtful, but they just went on to say, well, people don't get it. You don't know unless you've been there, and we just have to accept that. We don't, and it's good. I think it's good if people haven't been abused. People who don't understand narcissistic abuse, good on them, because they haven't gone through it, because I wish no one went through this. It just sucks that no one gets it and no one can see that. So that's it. So if you're still listening now, thank you. And please don't hate me for not loving a narcissist. I'm so sorry, but I could see through so much, and it's only because of my personal life experience, other survivors' stories, seeing other abusers, like so much life experience, professional experience, and education around it, that I could just see through everything. And it just breaks my heart what happened to her and what happens every day to so many victims or survivors. Look, really with the victim survivor thing, potato, tomato, tomato. For me, sometimes I like saying victim because I feel like, hey, what they did was really bad. And you shouldn't have to automatically go, I'm a survivor. You can have a moment of saying, hey, I'm a victim. Like, someone hurt me. And that's okay. Or you can say, look, I don't even want to use the word victim. I want to use the word survivor. Cool. Let's use that from the start. Go for it. I just toss in between the two. I'm not really attached to one or the other. Whatever you like. It's your words. It's your power. Empower yourself. And I hope that this helps empower someone. If not, my voice is out there in the ether. In the www, the World Wide Web, the interwebs. So, next episode. I don't know. I think I've already talked about the smear campaign against me. Yeah, I did. I've already discussed that in an episode, so I don't know. I'll have to reflect. Great fun. And think of one of many situations I've been through in life. I was thinking about going back on about court, but then I'll talk about something. Something will come up and I will spill a story time. And I can guarantee you every single story time I share is 100% the truth. I wish I was making it up because it would be less dramatic. I think if you're making something up, you're not going to say what I've said. You're not going to be that full on. You're going to just make it sound normal-ish with a little bit of abuse. But the shit that happened to me and happens to so many people around the world every day, you go to tell someone and they just think you're making it up because it's so fudged. It's really bad. Anyway, I'm just carrying on now, chatting to you. Email me, loveisabattlefieldpodcast @gmail.com. Love to hear from you. I really, really would. So take care. Stay safe, legends. Love you. Bye.